It's a Derrick White miracle. That finish for the Celtics to force a Game 7, that was a straight-up miracle. The Celtics are now the first ever team to force a Game 7 at home after being down 3-0. Let's get into it and a look ahead to Game 7 next on First to the Floor.
Who was going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice the body.
Knocked away.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. The Boston Celtics, they force a Game 7 on legitimately perhaps one of the best late game plays in NBA playoff history. Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg here. Spooney, how's it going, man? Welcome back.
Thanks, Ben. What a weekend I've had. All right. My soccer team won their last game of the season, so they're not getting demoted.
Nice. Let's
My
go.
kid has started laughing every time I fart. So,
Yes.
that's a big step to manhood.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Game 6. I'm in a resort condo thing with my wife's extended family watching the game. Whisper yelling. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. Because I can't. There's 3 kids sleeping. There's people sleeping all around me. And I'm just like fist pumping to nobody.
Oh my God.
So what an experience. I didn't have sound, so I had no idea when the buzzer went off, but they won. Yeah, they won. That's all that matters.
Jake, what was your watching experience? We'll do a quick around the room here before we get into the moments that matter.
Just trying to think about you go up 10 and that's the moment I'm like, okay, getting to be not a perfect game, but they found a way. And then it just drip. And you felt it felt over. I was literally on my knees, just I can't believe they've done this again. And then you look up and I'm like, oh my God, is it off? Is it off? I think it's off. And then explosions. If you see my video on Twitter, I literally ran into the wilderness screaming.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it was a moment far out.
And I gotta give a shout out to Grandy and Max. I caught this whole game on the radio via the League Pass app. Just terrible timing. A Sunday, which is the day it's on here in Australia, just full of family obligations. Grandy and Max do a great job of conveying the drama of the game via a format that's limited to audio only. And driving in the car down south to a baby shower, got the family in the car. I've got the phone in the center console with just one AirPod in my ear. And as my kid's falling asleep in the back of the car, that 10-point lead late in the fourth is dwindling down to nothing. I'm punching myself in the leg. I'm just so frustrated. And then that last game thing, I almost swerved off the road and crashed as Derrick White won the game. Unbelievable. And then it's just, you get to that point, that juncture in the game in the afternoon here, watching in Australia, and your day is either going to be completely made or completely ruined. And heading to a social affair, like a baby shower that I was headed to rock into that venue with a win on my back, so good. I was the life of the party yesterday, fellas. Let's just get right into this one, I suppose. Should we start by let's just watch the final play, right? Let's just play it back here.
Screws face the floor here, but he's got to be aware of Derrick White on a quick pass back also.
White will inbound. It's off to Smart for the 7th game. It may have been tipped in, but the buzzer sounded. The light was on. It'll be reviewed.
I don't think he got that in time. Great effort by Derrick White.
And didn't I say you have...
they're saying on the floor, they're counting it.
You have to protect the offensive rebounding.
Oh, he got rid of it.
That's
a Celtic win, and we're going to Game 7.
The Celtics are going to win. There's a Game 7 back in Boston.
Rolling on the floor is good basket to place.
Kevin Harlan just in his element there. How many times have you guys watched that since it happened yesterday?
So many times. And Ben, you shared it in our Slack, but there's the quad box angle going around where it's you got both benches watching the replay and jubilation from the Celtics on one end and despair and agony for Miami, and glorious.
you can see Tatum, like, he walks back to the bench. Yeah, with like just assuming
Yeah.
that it's over. And then clearly someone's like, no, dude, no. Derrick White got the shot up, and you see him like walk back onto the court, and you can see the moment where it like, hits him and he just like lights up. It's awesome. We have the play here in our slow-mo. We're going to play it, and Spoonie's going to give us the full basketball analysis rundown of what happens second to second. Here we go.
All right, so I think you want to watch Derrick White because he reads this perfect. When he sees Strus go to Tatum to double, he's actually wide open. Smart probably could have dropped off pass to him for an open shot, but the beauty is the intelligence of Derrick White is to keep going, run that line because he's in front of Max Strus. And actually, one thing I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is Tatum's there too to dunk it in. So, like, no matter which side of the rim this gets coughed up on, one of these guys is going to dunk it home. But I doubt it was part of the play to have Derrick White kick it and then run to that corner with intention. He was probably just supposed to, like, space so Tatum could get a shot off. But when Strus doubled, I mean, he made that hard cut. Like, if Smart drops it off, he might even be able to get to the rim for a layup. You have to worry about Bam. But it's such a Derrick White being Derrick White play to be the inbounder, which I didn't even really appreciate it watching live. I had no idea where Derrick White was to start the play. I just saw him laying it in. But like looking back, it's like he like reads how that's going to play out so perfectly. And he saves the season. And even like he sort of short arms the layup because he knows he doesn't have a lot of time. Like he doesn't get it all the way up to the backboard. He just kind of like throws it up, and he had to because of 0.1 second more of that ball in his hand, and it's all over. The playoffs are nuts, dude. Why do we do this?
I straight up cannot believe it. Like, I've watched it so many times. It's like where. So listening to Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo this morning, that was like the first pod I put on when I woke up. I was like, yes, like so happy 100%. To wake up to a Simmons pod. And they talked about like where does this rank in not just Celtics playoff history, but like NBA playoff history. And Bill Simmons, as he often does, as he does such a good job of, he talked about like the Larry Bird steals the ball, Gerald Henderson stealing the ball in Game 2 of the finals at some point in the 80s. You can tell I don't know my history as well as Bill Simmons, which I think is forgivable. But you guys, looking at like our generation's Celtics fandom, so let's say like post year 2000, Spoonie, we'll start with you. Like, where does this rank for you? Is it straight to number one, or is there anything comparable in recent Celtics history?
Okay, so the issue with this one is I think it will matter a lot more if we go on to win the title.
This is the problem.
This is like immediately top 3, maybe 1 if we win the title. Until that happens, Tatum against the Nets last year, like set the tone for that series. Like I bet that goes 7 if we lose that game 1. Like series, it's just so weird. You give them confidence. Pierce going toe-to-toe with LeBron. I know it's not like a single play, but just as like a moment, he hit a lot of big shots down the stretch to beat LeBron in 2008. Ray Allen, that 24-point comeback in Game 4 of the 2008 finals. Kobe hits a jumper to make it, I think, a 2 or a 3-point game. And then Ray Allen just ISOs Sasha Vujacic and just gets this like smooth, buttery left hand layup to ice the game and end it. And that basically won the NBA finals at that point. Cause then it's 3-1. They blow this huge lead. It was almost never in doubt after that. So that Ray Allen play, even though it wasn't a buzzer beater, I feel like Kobe, you missed that. And then Kobe's coming back down with a chance to tie or win the game. Like that's pretty terrifying scenario. And you don't complete that huge comeback. So, I don't know, man. I struggle to think of like single plays that have such a massive impact on the implications of a season because they just don't come around that often rather.
Mm-hmm. Jake?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything like the Nets thing. It comes to mind, but like over the past 5 years of playoff runs, like which just speaks to how rare this is. It's like the Celtics have played in so many playoff games, like Jaylen Brown, 100 plus playoff games. And like, this has happened twice where it's like a buzzer beater on like we've had the reverse. We've had bloody OG Anunoby. Maybe this just speaks more to like the experience I feel as a fan. Like I feel like you often remember the pain more so than like
that's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
I
Like
only
Mark's
remember
block.
Payne.
Smart
just-
block that game's got to be
Yeah.
up there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
The game 7 block against Toronto that Marcus had, like
Yeah.
on North Powell after the turnover.
Yeah, that's what I was meant.
Yeah.
that one.
But like that series, like OG Anunoby, that like we're up
Yeah.
2-0 and Kyle Lowry throws the ball over Taco, falls. Jalen falls asleep shockingly on an inbounds, and OG hits this ridiculous shot, and this series ends up going 7, and the Celtics are just cooked for another Heat series. Like, I just never want to see these guys ever again.
No.
Like, I'm so over Caleb Martin. I'm so over him, dude, and it's never ending. Yeah, like regular season stuff comes to mind, like Jaylen Brown hitting like a buzzer beater on like a road trip in 2017 against Utah, like stuff like that. But playoffs,
Smart taking those charges against Harden.
Yeah, right. That's
that won the game, you know?
Yeah. Like like the Kelly Olynyk game, but like that's not a buzzer beater.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so Jordan in the chat here is mentioning Isaiah Thomas's 53 against the Wizards. That was incredible. But just as far as like what was at stake in this game, having just gone down 1 to the Jimmy Butler free throws with what we thought was even less than 3 seconds left at the time, just like, okay, well, this has become unwinnable now because of how poorly we've been in late game situations, particularly
I know
with game-winning shot opportunities. And so with all of that in mind, and just like going into that last play with the thought in your head, just like, it's over. I'm about to watch the final play of the Celtics season after everything we've sort of been through as fans. It's been a roller coaster of a season. And as content creators and podcasters, like there's been a lot of work that we put into the show this year. All of that, I'm about to watch it end. And then for it to finish the way that it did, I think with all of that context, to me, it's like, it's straight up there in number 1. And like any sort of play that predates 2015, there's less of like I was there online when it happened with everyone factor. So that plays into it heaps as well. Getting like into the game a little bit more, statistically, you know, if you looked at just the 3-point shooting percentage for the Celtics, like if I could say, just give me one stat after the game, if I haven't watched it, and I'll be able to tell you whether or not the Celtics won the game, it's the 3-point shooting percentage. And yet in this game, I haven't got the exact percentage up in front of me, but suffice to say 20, it was shithouse. They shot like shit for 3. And yet they found a way to win the game. Spoon, you've got some strange stats for this game for us, don't you? Because this was a weird one.
Yeah, so on the threes, this is the lowest number of threes the Celtics have made in a game this season, regular season or playoffs, period. Not a win, period. And we've made 9 threes 5 times this year, 1 in 4 of those games, 10 or fewer, we're 2 and 6, and 0 and 3 in the playoffs if we make 10 or fewer threes. Again, we made 7. So offensive rebounds, right? Often we look at, okay, if we lose the offensive rebounding battle, we'll probably lost the game. We lose it by 5, second worst margin of the playoffs, in a win after that weird game 2 where Atlanta out rebounded us 19-5 on the offensive glass, but we won by like 10. And then the turnovers
as well, dude.
Turnovers as well. So we lost the turnover battle by 7. Highest disparity in a win in the playoffs. -12 was the highest margin. -12 was the highest margin in a win in the regular season. So you lose the 3-point shooting, you lose the turnover battle, and you cough up 5 extra possessions on offensive rebounds.
Insane.
How the hell did we win this game?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
We were in position to win it like cleanly too, like going away with all that stuff happening and then we had to like, so it was a miracle that we're up 10, and then it took a miracle for the Heat to get back in it, and then a third miracle again to save our freaking season. Like 2 Celtics made threes. Tatum 0 for 8, Jalen 0 for 4, Horford 0 for 2, Grant 0 for 3. Crazy. Of course, Marcus is the one that like was saving the day early, right? Like, I can't believe we have a Marcus Smart clone. We had one Marcus Smart shooting the shot, and then we had the Marcus Smart clone do the winning play.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens is a genius. You can't lose if you have 2 Marcus Smarts. Impossible.
So the guys, obviously in their post-game interviews will sort of ask the same question, like, how did you win this? And defense was sort of the calling card for most of them. Like, we shot like crap. It was a 90 possession game for each team, which is relatively low. Just scrolling through, cleaning the glass, like it's all blue. Like all teams performed very badly on almost all fronts, except the Celtics shot like the high 80s percentage wise from deep mid range. Which is crazy. One awesome part about the Jays in this one is they just like had the green light to let it fly from mid range, and particularly in the first half before Tatum cooled off and the Heat switched up their defense on him, and then Jalen got in foul trouble. The first half, it was like mid range and just like parades to the rim for the Jays, which was awesome. But also just to swing back on the defense for a second, this play by 37-year-old Al Horford, just like verticality, skying for the block over a athletically superior Bam Adebayo. Was just fucking awesome.
I love you, Al.
I know. I love Al. But at no point did I think after they went up 10 with 4 minutes to go and started missing free throws, I was like saying to my wife in the car, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not going to happen. And I was a mess. And I'm sorry that my wife and child had to see me like that. It won't be the last time, and it certainly wasn't the first. But it was rough. Any more thoughts on the defensive end? Because that was clearly what got it done in the end for the Celtics.
Well, like the defense in the paint was awesome, but I thought the defense on the 3-point shooters was bad, like pretty bad. And the Heat shot 60% from 3 in the first half, which is the only reason this wasn't a 20-point game. But the Celtics were just blowing coverages over and over and over again. Like Jalen lost Vincent like so badly on 2 wide open threes. It's like, yeah, even if they're wide, like the Celtics missed plenty of wide open shots, but the Heat were just knocking all of them down. The three, and then obviously Duncan Robinson missed the 2 3-pointers late as well, which I don't know. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. But like I thought the defense in games 5 and in games 4 was on a completely different level to what we saw in game 6. Not from a lack of effort perspective. Like in the paint, I thought the defense was awesome. But we weren't generating the turnovers on Jimmy and Bam like we were in game 6, and we weren't sticking to shooters. Like the stat that pops in my head, the Heat shot 11 3-pointers in the first half of game 5, and they only got up to like 25 attempts for the game. Versus this, like yesterday, they got 30 attempts up, which is just more. And like that's an indicator of how good the Celtics 3-point defense was. And it wasn't effort. They just they were screwing up switches, and that was keeping the Celtics in the game. And that's one thing that I'm clinging to amongst these stats where I think they can easily correct. Is go back to how good they were defending the 3 in games 4 and 5. I think that's something they can clean up.
Yeah, well, at least the flip side is you're doing a terrible job defending from 3. At least all that overhelping and blowing switches means there's people around the rim to help when they get to the rim. And the interior defense, I mean, it was really incredible how well they did contesting shots inside, not fouling, and mostly getting the offensive rebounds. So the Heat had way more offensive rebounds than we did. They only had 5-second chance points because they missed all their tips.
Yeah.
It's the kind of just a bizarre stat and a bizarre game. So yeah. I'm with you, Jake. This was not the best defensive performance of the series, even close, not even close, but at least they did one thing well enough. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a complete and total collapse, because sometimes you see when the Heat are hitting threes, then we're overcorrecting and then we're getting blown by and it's easy points, or Jimmy's living at the line. He did live at the line at the end of the fourth quarter after flopping his way to, Oh my God.
It's so shameless, dude. He just has no intention of putting a shot up.
No.
Even that last Al Horford foul, which, that's such a bad foul.
Yeah.
Just stick your hand,
just let him shoot a 3.
Make that fadeaway corner 3, hands up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But he did double dribble.
Not according to the last 2-minute report that I saw today.
Sure. Well, I don't know what they're looking at. I mean, we all saw it, right?
Boop, boop. He hit it with both hands while it was in the anyway. But I fought that battle on Twitter today. So I posted the video in slow-mo. And it was explain to me how this is not a double dribble.
Doing God's work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on that play, where was your head at, Spoonie, as Missoula challenges and it kind of backfires, right? Where suddenly, not only does the challenge, it's unsuccessful, but it puts Jimmy at the line for 3 instead of 2.
So I think they probably would have looked
would
at
have,
that
yes.
anyway. So I don't think Missoula's challenge truly backfired, but the broadcast did not explain that at all.
No,
and also,
no.
again, you got to remember I'm listening on like 3 volumes, so I can
Yeah,
barely
right.
hear anyway.
You're
so
like, what?
maybe they did. Yeah. It's very confused, but
Yeah.
it was a I mean, I didn't think it was a very good challenge because Al definitely fouled him. Now, if they can look at whether it was a double dribble before that, I honestly
they
don't
can't.
know. Yeah. So then it's a horrible challenge because he definitely fouled him after the double dribble.
But there was 3 seconds left. So
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of a desperation challenge. It's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe his foot was on
That's
the
true.
line or something. I thought at first that Al had like hit it with the ball with his elbow, and it was actually like a clean strip, but like with his elbow, it wasn't. I don't know. It's kind of a mess. Like my dad messaged me just now, first to the floor legend now.
Yeah.
He says Joe's challenge turns out to be crucial. I haven't read the link yet. And so I listened to the Hoops Collective as well last night, where I had Bontemps and Windhorst and McMahon, I think, on, and Tim Bontemps like called Monty McCutcheon to like get the ruling on the 3 seconds. And I think that if Missoula hadn't challenged, they may not have gotten that extra time back on.
Oh, okay.
But there's no clear explanation to if it was good, if it was bad. But I'm with you, Spoonie, because like the Caleb Martin 3 earlier in the game where they were like went back to double check that whether it was a 2 or a 3, they would have done the same thing with the 2 free throws. So I don't know. I like that Joe saved it to the end. That's like the best way to manage your challenges.
Yeah, because didn't the Heat, and again, I limited knowledge because I was listening on the radio, but didn't the Heat use that challenge super early, and it had the Jaylen Browns and 1 negated, but like we still got the bucket. So, I mean, I guess they saved a point and they saved a foul on whoever the defender was.
Caleb.
They were trying to get Jaylen his 4th foul. That's why he challenged it. 1, it was an and 1, and 2, it was to get Jaylen his 4th foul. And then they review it, and it's like, oh, okay, it wasn't a foul either way. We're just going with a no call. And so the bucket counted. It was a weird game. And then Jaylen has that 4-point play, like it's like the goaltend. But that all made sense to me. It was a goaltend and it was a technical. Yeah. And so it was no brainer. It's just like,
hey, shout out JB knocking his free
throws. Dude, 8
down.
for 10.
Finally. Yeah, finally. And we needed literally every single one of them.
Yeah, Jason Tatum, 15 for 15 from the line? I think I've got that right. And then JB 8 for 10 as well, which is amazing. And yeah, we needed every single one of them.
Which is why, and we've talked about, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but I've definitely done it on our playback stream where I've asked you if we're doing a draft of people you trust at the line with the game on the line, who are you taking first? And it's like, I feel like half of us said Marcus and half of us said Tatum. And I can't believe Marcus missed.
I know
that free throw. And Tatum was the one who got the rebound and outletted to Marcus. And like at that point, he's 15 from 15 from the line. Like I get pushing the ball up, but I was like, dude, you're the one I want. You're the one we want at the line right now. But who knows? He may have missed one as well. Like, and this whole thing could be different. But like,
that's the thing. Like, you can believe that they miss it. At the time, you're like, of course. Like, I'm driving my car, just being like, fuck. Like, of course you can believe at the time that they're missing it because you can feel the world crumbling around you, which just goes back to how much of a miracle this Derrick White play was. Like, it was over. It was over. Like, we shat the bed again. Classic Celtics. Like, I was writing the obituary in my head. It was done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's too much that we can say about it, right? Because it's just that insane of a thing that happened. Like, we could just keep talking about that specific moment in time for another 40 minutes, and that would be completely acceptable.
Well, like, does this have sound, this one you've uploaded?
No.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Like,
I thought this was like symbolism of all of us after the
This is what I'm saying. This is what you're talking about. This is like, they embrace each other. Jalen's like, dude, what just happened, bro? And Tatum's like,
if you're listening, this is the Jays in the locker room after the game. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, Jays in the locker room, like just embracing each other, similar to after Game 6 of the Sixers series, and they're like, "Dude, we have another chance, forehead to forehead. Yeah. Let's go get one more.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Let's go."
Anything else
man.
on this game before we sort of move on? I know we've got some Tatum post game stuff to get to, but I don't know. Like, maybe it's okay to just be like, this was a blur, and something fucking incredible happened at the end of it. But Spoonie, Jake, anything else you want to say on the game before we move on?
It's about time we got lucky.
Right?
It's about time after Harden and Trae Young
true.
and like all this unlucky shit. Like, it is about time we got a damn, because Marcus, he had the game winner that was like 0.2 late. Like, it's about damn time.
Dude, Marcus almost made this shot.
I know.
Oh
It's
my
Gunny rolled.
God.
Yeah.
Oh. Man, and I don't know. It's just a weird way to be feeling. Like, only the Celtics can have won 3 playoff games in a row, and we still have the most stressful one to go.
Yep.
Like, the literally only way to
Yes.
win 3 playoff games and not have won the series or be up 3-1 or up 3 or whatever is going down 3-0. And it's just like, there's this jubilation and incredible joy, but like, I'm still trading tomorrow at the same time. There's like this, like, I'm going back and forth. I'm like, oh man, I don't feel like I did going into game 7 against Philly. I don't think like I felt more. I don't know. I don't even know anymore how I'm feeling. But yeah. So.
Spoonie, anything else on the game before we move on?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so crazy, man. I'm with you,
Yeah.
Jake. I'm just a mess.
Yeah, like we've talked for 26 minutes now, but I think to some extent we're at a loss for words. Jason Tatum also at a loss for words after the game. We're going to run his post-game interview now.
Jason, describe the relief you feel as that play went down from Derrick White.
Oh my God, it's a lot going on right now. That was, whoo, it don't get no better than that. That was fun. That was fun.
What were the range of emotions you felt just now in these few seconds right here?
Like a big sigh of relief. It's how you get another chance. We not done yet. We gotta keep fighting. But that was a hell of a win. I'm at a loss for words. That's my bad.
It's all good. I got me too. What has Derrick White meant to your team?
Everything. I told him this morning at shooting around. Be yourself. Be aggressive. If I pass it to you, shoot it. If you got to open it, go get it. Be a basketball player. We can't hold nothing back. God, as they say, let all the bullets go.
They took a lead in the fourth quarter. Then Jimmy Butler goes to the free throw line, knocks down 3 in a row. What was it like in winning time in the fourth quarter down the stretch to have resolve?
I mean, it seemed like when we down and out, we found a way. That's what we did. We found a way. We still got another game, but man, did that feel good.
You guys went down 0-3 and you forced a game 7. What does that mean to you that you forced it?
I love this team. No matter what everybody was saying, we kept fighting. We down but not out. So we got another chance. I go to war with every guy in that locker room. As it shows, we got a big one on Monday.
What will it take to make history on Monday?
This type of grit, this type of grind, you got to play to the buzzer go. And that's what we're going to do.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube for live streaming sports and
Get out of here. No free ads.
Oh
Have
man,
you guys ever seen Tatum like
Nah.
that before? That
No,
was
not
like
really.
the first time I've ever seen Tatum in an interview be like his real personality. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just seems so open and emotional, and he's always the opposite. He's the most boring interview on the planet, which I love, but I just thought that was such an awesome interview from him. And I love this team, man. Like, it just felt so real to me, right? Am I just like drinking the green Kool-Aid?
no, it's like a relationship. Like, the more you fall in love with each other, the more you open up to one another. And as corny as that sounds, like throughout the
You're right,
years, Tatum has been giving us bigger and bigger glimpses into his soul and allowing us into his life, or his heart, if you will, a little bit. And this was just a bigger and better glimpse of that, and very emotionally charged, but very much aligned and in sync with the fan base as well. So just a beautiful fan-player relationship moment, really. It was great.
It's the best. It's the best, man. Oh, man.
Just win game 7, please.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. While I'm watching, I'm like, yes, this is so amazing. But I'm like, trying to just remember this. Just remember this. Because if they lose, this still is real. And like, you have to try and like take a step back from the honestly, when I watched that, it made me think that like even if they had gone down in 4 games, I don't think that Brad even changes that much. It's impossible to say that now. Like it's just I don't know.
So I get, yeah. I mean, I feel you. Like watching these, it's like you're just blissing out these clips after the game. And like last night, I fell asleep. Like literally, my phone. I fell asleep. My phone just like dropped on the bed a couple of times. I'm just falling asleep, just like consuming all the post game content, including that. Looking ahead to Game 7, I can't believe that it's tomorrow and like that we have to just like jump back into the stress of it again so quickly. Spoonie, like, what do you think Spo's adjustments will be? What do you think Joe's adjustments will be? What do you think the tone of the game will be overall?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, Joe's done a couple of, I think, really great things recently, like to the point where maybe this is crazy to say, and he's got a big talent advantage, but he's like hanging with Spo. And one of the biggest things he did, and Jake, you and I were talking about it, I think after Game 2 or Game 3, whenever we were super depressed, and we were like, just start switching more.
That one time.
Like, just start switching more. And he has finally unleashed Robert Williams on Jimmy Butler. And it's like, fine, you want to take Rob one-on-one, go for it. And Jimmy's got him a couple times, but like Rob has been stonewalling his ass, and he blocked that 3 in Game 5. He corralled Jimmy a bunch of times. Like Jimmy was flustered. You said it, Jake. He wasn't even looking at the rim. Like he looked like James Harden at times out there, man. Like that is really what his game reminded me of. And he's just bricking everything because Rob's in his face, dude. Like you do not want to go one-on-one against Rob Williams. And he's letting Al switch out to basically everybody but Jimmy Butler. And Al's doing just fine. And finally, it's like drop has its place and it's important. But this Heat team has too many guys who are just comfortable pulling up and making shots. So like, you just can't do it. So I thought that was big. And I anticipate Spo will try to get Jimmy Butler onto Al Horford more often and force us to get back into drop. So that's probably a big thing I'm looking there. Offensively, I'm not sure we have to change much. We just got to make our shots, man. Like, I know that's stupid. Like Joe needs to turn the shooting sliders up on 2K and like get these guys to make some jumpers. But in the second half, Spo took Jimmy Butler off of Tatum. And then he basically had Jimmy like shadowing Tatum, like almost playing like zone just to stay with Tatum. And I think that's a lot of the reason Tatum went kind of quiet in the second half, because he basically like, if he got by the first guy, Jimmy Butler's there. And we know what Jimmy Butler can do when you're on your way to the rim. Like he's picking your pocket, he's blocking, he's forcing you into bad passes. So that was a really impressive adjustment from Spo. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, that guy kind of knows what he's doing. So I'll be interested to see how we get Tatum back in the game. If that's how they do it, maybe some more off-ball stuff. Have Jimmy's guy just park in the corner and then run stuff on the opposite side. We'll probably see a lot because we're going to need Tatum. Like he can't have another 6-point half or something like that.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Like he kind of can. Like if the Celtics
if we're making shots,
this is the thing. If we can. Like, and we don't even need to shoot that well. It's like we're like at 32% for the series so far. Like, if you gave me the option for 32% from 3 for Game 7, I'd probably take it. It's like that's all we need against this team. And another thing, Spoonie, that Steph Noah on Twitter pointed out, because like Jalen got into foul trouble, and Van Gundy is just like screaming at the Heat to get Jalen involved in anything. And Steph Noah did a really good job of breaking it down. But like anytime Max Strus coming around, they switch. And Derrick White picks him up, and then whoever's, setting that screen, Jalen goes with them. Or like anytime Jalen gets a mismatch, Rob's coming in. Like there was a clear, like, okay, guys, anytime they try and get Jalen involved, it's going to be early switching, or Jalen's just going to go over the top. Like the ability to work within the overall switch everything scheme to keep Jalen out of foul trouble was huge because he was really important. And like, we're running out of dudes. Like even if Jalen's not playing perfectly, like we're literally running out of guys. And it was a bad Grant game. And so it's like, if Jalen's in foul trouble, that means more Grant, or I don't know what you do. So I thought that was a really, really nice adjustment from Joe. he's like the rest of the team apparently, where
Back against the wall.
Yeah. He just had to face the mortality of the world, and now he's good to go.
SS Austin has called this out in the chat, and I know Rosillo was talking about this on the pod with Bill Simmons earlier today, that at the end of the game, our offense looked really bad against their full court zone. And like, I'm not going to take credit for this observation, but Rosillo was like, no, like the Celtics fundamentally handled that well. They got a guy to the middle of that stretched out full court zone, but we had a couple of difficulties like catching the ball. There were some late game, maybe nervy issues of just like mental mistakes. But as far as like fundamentally knowing how to approach that defense, like I don't think the Celtics have any issues there. It's just about crunch time offense and things that have crunch time execution and poise and things that have sort of bothered the Celtics all year. A few other people calling this out in the chat. Just if the Celtics just make like their season average threes, or even like 10% below that, like they will win this game. I know it's a simple take, but like really that's what it's come down to, all playoffs or regular season. Hopefully at home, guys like Grant Williams, who hasn't performed well on the road in this series, he'll start to stroke his threes as well. And the Jays, if they could hit R3 each, even one in game 7 at home, that would be nice as well. So 3-point shooting, again, not a new take, is going to come into play massively.
Yeah, and Spo nailed it again. Like, he didn't use the zone a single time until like the last 5 minutes. And I thought that was really smart, because it's like you're just so used to playing one way the whole game, and now you're tired as hell. And now you throw out this zone, and like while they executed pretty well, it's just like the mental fatigue is real. Like, it's physical, it's mental. Like, you're going, like you're avoiding these hands from all these savvy Heat defenders all game. And now they're just changing their positioning like enough where you have to think a little bit more when you're on your last legs. That was genius, because like going back to game 6, they eviscerated the zone, and it could have been worse. Like, there was a spell where they went a little bit cold in game 6, and they were just missing wide open threes. Like, I know Zach Lowe had the stat. I think it was like they were on like 1.42 points per possession against the zone in game 5. And it's like, they just like the Rob Williams, he got it deep in the post. And how many of those like little 5-foot fadeaway jump hooks has he made over the past 2 weeks, right? And he just missed it. Yep. Tatum misses that layup, like where he was money, and he probably got fouled. And I know, Spoonie, like Jimmy's getting these touch calls on the other end, and Tatum can't get one call in the second half. It's just brutal. Like, the execution feel like, because you're just melting down. Like, you as a human, you're watching it melting down, but you go back and look, it wasn't as bad. But it's just like these immovable object in the unstoppable force, where the zombie Heat are so good, like better than anyone in the league, about like being down 10 plus with like 5 minutes to go. They're like the only team that has any wins, and they have like 4. And then you combine that with the Celtics shakiness in those moments. It's a bad recipe.
It was in the last 2-minute report that Tatum got fouled on that layup. So,
yes.
Yeah. So he did get fouled. That's why he missed it. And it's absolutely ridiculous that they didn't call it. I mean, it absolutely blows my mind. So yeah. And Rob hit one of those on an and one against Caleb Martin earlier in the game too. And it's like, man, those are all good looks. You can't overreact, right? Like, the worst thing you can do is overreact to the results if the process is right. Like, got to keep doing the process. One thing I don't understand though, against the zone, why is Tatum bringing the ball up and running point? Put him at the net, have Marcus bring it up. Put him at the nail, run a pick and roll with Marcus and Al can fade somewhere. And Tatum's going to be there at the nail, and he just destroys it every time. Like, don't have him be point guard.
Do you think it comes down to just a collective concern about the ability to get the ball back into Tatum's hands, where at least if you start the possession, he's there, you're like, well, at least we know he's got the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and like, we're not going to fix the crunch time stuff obviously this year, right? Like, I think whatever we have in crunch time is probably what we got. But what I don't understand is Marcus and Tatum in the post. Spoonie, is that hard to get into against a zone? Like, I feel like you don't even need to throw the entry pass in. I don't like get Tatum to the wing and just back whoever, unless it's Jimmy, he can literally back any of those guys down from the wing, from the perimeter. And even if he doesn't get all the way into the paint. I don't mind Tatum taking these like mid-range fallaways. Like he was awesome on them in the first half, like going against Jimmy, right? Like get him in the mid post against Caleb Martin, but maybe that is that a zone thing where they're able to like stop him from just kind of backing down from the wing.
Yeah, I think it's the help will be so close. So, but we've talked about that a million times. Like you want him to help when he's posting up, man.
Exactly.
So, and he'll just kick it, and then we got another open shot. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a ton of ways to attack a zone. That's why a lot of teams don't run it, because like it's got a lot of weaknesses. But the biggest thing is you just got to make the shots you do generate. And we just have not been able to do that in this series against the zone at times. And when we do, we kill them running away. Like it's not generally a close game when we're making the shots against the zone. So I don't know, man. We'll see. I don't think Spo's going to go to it much, because he knows just as well as everybody else does. Like you can't play with fire and give open looks to this team for too many games in a row. Like they're going to start dropping. And the history of game sevens at home for the Celtics the last 2 years were like plus 60 in those. I think we won by 28 and 24 in the last 2 game sevens at home. So they've got to cook up something in Miami.
That's such a feel-good stat.
Yes.
We're just going to take a very quick break to talk about our sponsor, FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Right now, new customers, you can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Jake, I believe, as a sort of our gambling connoisseur on the show, Spoonie, I know you like a punt as well, and I do, but I'm terrible at it. What have you got for us for Game 7 aside from Celtics win in a dominant blowout? What else have you got for us betting wise?
Actually, I can probably cook one up pretty quick, same game parlay wise. But honestly, the championship odds have swung like kind of even for the Celtics and the Nuggets, like way more than I would think. Whatever reason, the Vegas loves the Celtics so much this year, and all the models and all the everything like adores the Celtics. And look, they've kind of been right so far. Like technically, they're one game away from going to the finals. I just think that maybe this is a reverse jinx, but if the Celtics do get through, the Denver's been off for would have been off for almost like 2 weeks by the time they actually play a game. Like they're going to be so well rested. They've been so good. I feel like the Celtics actually winning the finals, if they get through, is going to be a freaking miracle. So like I would have a look at betting the Nuggets just to win the title straight up right now. Yeah, because if the Heat lose, if the Heat win, it's going to just be gone. Like the odds are going to be like 10-1 in favor of the Nuggets. So that's where
you can hedge that easy too.
Exactly. Yeah.
If the Celtics do make, you're good. That's a solid bet. I like that a lot.
Thanks.
So heading into Game 7, let's just get some of these questions out of the way. Spoonie, and maybe I'm most qualified to answer this. But
yes, you are.
How terrified are you heading into tomorrow's Game 7?
Extremely. I'm very terrified, dude. Like no game. Yeah. Like I felt really confident going into Game 7 against Philly, and I feel the same way about this Game 7. But that doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm still friggin' terrified, dude. It doesn't matter how confident I feel and how I think they're gonna play really well, but it doesn't matter. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I think if you try to hold on to stuff, right? It's like
yeah.
I think it feels like there's 3 outcomes. There's Celtics blowout. There's Celtics lose close game. We have seen Celtics win close game. It is a possibility. So I feel like there's 2 of the 3 outcomes that actually favor the Celtics. I just don't see a scenario where this Heat can actually win like a double-digit game like against the Celtics. I don't think that's possible. I know we saw it in Game 3, but that may as well be a different series at this point.
Yeah.
That being said, like I already have a pit in my stomach thinking about it. And I remember when they won Game 4, being like, oh, I'd be sick if they could get to Game 6, because like at least it would feel like we battled back and this team still stuck together, and a lot of those off-season questions become a little easier. Then they win Game 6, and yeah.
Still doesn't feel real. Sorry, Ben.
No, no, you're right. It doesn't feel real. The whole thing feels like a weird dream where like it's one of those dreams that doesn't start off as a nightmare, but then like quickly becomes one. Like that's what Game 7 could be. Heat culture is kind of on the line, so we maybe eliminated the Philadelphia 76ers process. Like we'll see what happens in their off season, but we've certainly pushed them to the brink there as far as like changes they might make this off season. Could we do the same thing with Heat culture? Like, can they recover culturally speaking from going up 3-0 in a Eastern Conference Final series and then losing? So with them coming into town with that in mind, like I do fear Spo and Jimmy and Bam and kind of like whatever their last hurrah is, like their final death blow, that all terrifies me. The fact that the Celtics, if they even have a shred of confidence, that's typically a bad thing. If that back to the wall mentality goes away, and then just like the Celtics, like single game formula of they're behind in a game, right? They come back, they cut it to like 3, only to then like cough up their marbles at the end of the game and lose. We've seen that happen in a vacuum in individual games, like throughout the era of the Jays. So I feel like that could happen sort of like within the confines of a playoff series as well. So that they sort of come back to give us hope, only to then shit the bed in Game 7 as well. I'm not saying that that's likely at all. And like statistically and looking at the gambling odds, like it's not. But I'm just saying, like, these are the thoughts that, like, sort of the intrusive thoughts, if you will, that dominate my mind heading into games like this.
Can Caleb Martin miss a shot?
That would be a good start.
Can Caleb Martin please miss a shot? I feel like if they can just like shut him down, and I wouldn't commit extra resources to doing it, but it's like, can Grant, when he's out there, just like put up a little bit more of a fight? Can whoever's on Caleb Martin just get like that much closer on the contest? Can they, when he's getting these straight line drives to the rim, force a miss, get a finger on a ball? Like he's just playing at this level that, like, if if they win the thing, Caleb Martin's going to win the Eastern Conference Player of the Year. Like it's not Jimmy at all. The only reason that they're in these games right now is because of Caleb Martin. And it's like, can they shut the others down? Like, I don't know. Going into Game 6, right? Every podcast, everyone, and even my objective self before Game 6 was like, if the Celtics can win Game 6, you have to feel good going into Game 7. So I think, like, objectively, you should feel good. The problem is we're not objective and we're psychos, and we've been emotionally terrorized by the Celtics for 2 months.
For years.
For years, especially this playoffs. Like the amount of elimination games that we've gone through over the past 2 years, like the amount of like you should be dead moments that we've survived is just that should be a half decade of trauma. And we're squeezing these into like 1.7 playoff runs. It's just like, please.
I believe I saw the stat that the Celtics are the first team to go to Game 7 in round 2 and Game 7 in round 3 2 years in a row.
Like, what are we doing, dude?
And apologies if you've read this stat out. Like I was fumbling around with some FanDuel stuff before. The Celtics have won the last 2 Game 7s on home court by 24 against Philly and by 28 against Milwaukee. I think we've already covered whether or not we expect the same outcome in this Game 7. What's going to be the bigger factor in this game if the Celtics win, Spoonie? Is it going to be threes going down or the Jays outplaying the big two in Miami there in Bam and Jimmy Butler?
I mean, on the Caleb Martin front and the Gabe Vincent front, it almost feels like the Jays could outplay, and they did outplay Jimmy and Bam in Game 6 by a lot, and it was still a 1-point game. So I think it's the boring answer, but it's the threes going down, man. If this team gets up to like 18, 19, 20 threes, like this is going to be, I think, a big win, but there's zero guarantee that'll happen.
I like to go back to the defense and like, what can you control? And I do feel like there's a lot that they can clean up. Like in that first half where the Heat shot, it was 60% from 3, right? Like 9 for 15. Like they didn't get that many up. 30's like a manageable number for a game, but 60% is such a high number. Game 5 defense. That's the game that I want to replicate. All the turnovers, all of like running them off the line. I feel like they have the defensive personnel to, if they're crisp enough and they're executing at a high enough level, they can like just grind them, get out and run to where the threes will just go in when they're playing like that, right? Like when you're getting turnovers and you're running, and it's a waterfall. It's an avalanche of Garden 04 Red Sox people in the building. Like you have
Big
to
Poppy
think,
better be there.
you have to think that, like, the Celtics can't win a home game. Well, they won the biggest home game of the playoffs already. They won the biggest road game of the playoffs already. You have to think that someone like they don't win road games, but home games. But which home games they do win? It's game sevens.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Got me hyped as hell.
I've got no. We're gonna have to clip that, Jake. That was impressive. It's incredible. Yeah, I can't follow that up. I just hope we win.
I was just gonna say,
really hope we win.
we don't have the anything is possible thing in the StreamYard, but that's it right now. Just AK-47, Kevin Garnett, strap up. Even Tatum in that clip, right? He was like, empty the clip. Like, I know that Tatum's going to come out and play AK-47 style, where it's not just it's shots, it's physicality on offense, but it's the rebounding, it's hands in passing lanes, it's the elite defensive help, the offensive rebounding, which it feels like a skill that he's developed in the middle of the playoffs this year. Going back to the closeout game against Atlanta, one of the biggest plays of the game. I know we're going to get that version of Tatum, and I think that version of Tatum is better than any other version of Jimmy Butler at this point in the series. He's markedly outplayed Jimmy Butler in this series outside of like the last 2 minutes of game 2. If anyone else turns up in that game, Celtics tie that up. Tatum, best player on the court, get the win.
This is spicy. Sorry, Ben.
No, go for it.
It'll be very quick. He's really reminded me of Kawhi in that 2019 run with the Raptors, where it's just like both ends completely dominant, doing enough playmaking with the mid-range drop in, the three drop. The three hasn't always dropped, and I don't think it did for Kawhi that playoff run either. He was just crushing people in the mid-range to get to the rim. So that's like, because he's get like the star version of AK-47. You know what I mean?
It's crazy that I don't know if it's a Tatum specific thing, but just the narrative around Tatum is always so off. Like even if he wins game 7, I don't feel like people are going to be talking about him like he's had this unreal playoff run, but he's stepped up in so many big moments. And then there's been games that have been lost because other guys didn't step up. Like game 1 against Philly, he has 39 points and that game gets lost because the other guys around him don't step up on the defensive end. He was still good on defense. Game 2 against Miami, 34, 13, 5, and no one else steps up. Like he's kept them in games. He's saved them in games. Obviously, he hasn't been perfect. But, outside of Jokic and Steph Curry, no one else in the playoffs this whole year has been as dominant as Tatum. So
what do you think about the fact that we've been talking for an hour and we haven't mentioned Malcolm Brogdon, or the absence of one Brogsy, Malcolm Brogdon? Like, his 3-point shooting throughout the season was like league best. He was the 6th man of the year, and yet like the way that we haven't mentioned him, I feel like we don't miss him at all. Do you think Spoonie, like, we'll see him back? I know it's difficult to speculate. We don't know the extent of the injury, but like, do you think the C's are going to give him a try? And what is it, a really important game 7?
It feels risky to me.
Sure.
Because if he's the problem with Brogdon is like when Smart plays a little banged up and his shot's a little off, like he's going to bring so much other stuff to the table. Like if Brogdon's forearm is bothering, because it's his forearm, right?
Yeah.
If that's bothering his shot, it's like, why would we have him out there really? Like he just needs to be great at scoring the basketball to have positive value. Otherwise, he's like kind of an okay defensive player. He kind of is okay passing the ball, but it's like I just run Derrick White and Marcus Smart out there for like 46 minutes each. Don't take the risk.
I'll say, I have absolute faith in Derrick White's ability to play every single minute of the game. Yesterday, Spoonie, I was like, when Grant was struggling, it was like, okay, Grant's struggling. Obviously, we're out. Like, there's not a lot of options. Brogdon's out. Your options are Hauser, Pritchard, or double big. And I thought he should have tried double big. I understand him not going to Hauser in the second half of game 6 yesterday. That's like a pretty tough spot to put Hauser in. I thought there was potentially a way that you could try double bigs because like they're not respecting Grant on offense anyway. Horford and Rob get like ability to stay in front of guys off the bounce is at least comparable to Grant. And so what I think that they will give you potentially was something that he could have gone to. I wonder if they look at that. Like the good thing is Grant typically at home, and then Milwaukee Game 7, like Grant's been good in this specific series, Game 5, ability to knock down shots at home. So if he's hitting threes, then you're good to go. But like if we have another version of Game 6 Grant, because they tried Hauser for 1 minute and 50 seconds. I don't know if they try and like commit to it. It's so hard to commit to like 4 minutes of Hauser in the game like that, like tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So like the only thing that you feel like you have a little bit of confidence in that you obviously went away from earlier in the season in the series is the double bigs. Do you feel like he could go there if Grant can't go and Brogdon can't go?
Yeah, I think the one issue with double bigs against Miami is they can kind of zone you to death if Al's not hitting his threes because they're not going to ignore Rob, and Rob can punish that here and there, but I don't think he punishes it consistently enough to get them out of a zone. And then they're not really respecting Al from 3 either. They're treating him like Grant. So then that's like a lot of pressure to create for whoever's out there with them. I'm not worried about defensively. And I think if you're kind of like protecting a lead, I hate to say that because that's like how we always play and then lose the lead, but I could see it if it's like, we need some stops to kind of right the ship a little bit going to double bigs. And if Bam's not out there, I would like to see some double bigs, man. Get Rob running pick and rolls against Cody Zeller and just get over the top on him. Like if they even play Zeller, Bam might play 48 minutes.
Zeller played 2 minutes and 21 seconds and was a -7.
Yeah, right.
So
that's wild.
Thanks.
But I feel like that's playing into that was first half. Like he didn't play in the second half. But it's like Bam played 45 minutes and 39 seconds yesterday, right? And I feel like a contributing factor to him maybe missing these shots at the rim is like he's tired, he's cooked. And so like, yeah, cool. Bam plays 48 minutes, but that is a lot to ask of Bam as well. So, and like Kevin Love is now out of the series, it feels like too. So maybe this is just what it is, right? We're playing 6.5 guys. Like I kind of trust Jalen, Jason, Marcus, and Derrick to be able to play pretty much 48 minutes, and then Al and Rob can share the center spot. So maybe that's just what it is, right? It's just empty the clip.
Game 7. Play 5 guys, fucking 48 minutes. Like just get it done. So a couple of things before we wrap up. First of all, just some quick content recommendations. Highly recommend typing in Celtics Game 6 game winner reactions on YouTube. There's a lot of good stuff from both fan bases, particularly if you enjoy the salty tears of some Heat fans. There's one at a wedding where there's a table like watching the game, and they clearly see the smart miss. They think they've won, and they've got like trumpets and flags and a parade and stuff at the wedding. And unfortunately, the video cuts out just as they're starting to realize that it wasn't a win, but it's a beautiful chef's kiss. And there's plenty of good stuff on the Celtics side as well. We'll end on this. Would losing Game 7 be worse than or better than losing in a sweep in Game 4? When we'd kind of already pre-grieved at that point, Jake, and had kind of come to terms with what was happening. Now our hopes are back up again. Would a loss now be worse than being swept?
I think it's going to feel worse. Like if we would have lost Game 4, it's definitely going to like emotionally, your body's going to be a disaster. Like you're going to have to do some serious soul searching, I don't know, ayahuasca retreat to get yourself back on track type thing. But it's better. It might feel worse, but it is better to have rallied all the way back. Even if they do go down, it just makes the future of this team like solid to me. Like to me, it's like, okay, they're not perfect, but this core clearly can win a title. They made the finals last year. They're a Game 7 away from going to the finals again. Tatum another year older. The CBA changes, all that stuff. Before the Supermax extensions for Jalen and Jason kick in, you have this core locked up. You you re-sign Grant, you run it back, and you have another crack at it. So I think it could feel worse, but I think it's better for the overall health of the Celtics.
Yeah, and I think we're probably looking at a fourth head coach in 4 years if we get swept. And look, maybe that's a good thing, but there's no guarantee it is. Like Joe, I feel like has answered a lot of questions in these last 3 games. And I think that's going to give him a lot of confidence and hopefully the fan base a lot of confidence going into the offseason if we do lose game 7. And bring him some assistance, please. Like, get this man a bench. So I think that's the perfect way to state it, Jake. Like, it's gonna hurt so much more, but like long-term future, it's always better to be on the brink of the NBA Finals than get punked in 4 games.
Yeah, worse for us, better for the team.
Right.
All right, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with another edition of Celtics Late Night right after Game 7, just after the Garden Report there on the CLNS channel and the First to the Floor YouTube channel. Can't wait for that one. Please share the pod, subscribe, leave us a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts. All that stuff really helps us build and promote the show. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.